what's up guys? Nick Pell coming to you once again from my white room, and this week's book that I have for you guys is the second book in the Walking Dead series, entitled, well, The Walking Dead Book 2. This is Kirkman, obviously. It's the hardcover edition. This is where I'll be reading all of them out of. Before I go into anything, I'm going to just say this. There will be spoilers a little bit from the first book of this type, and then possibly going into some potential spoilers from season 3 of the show. Because the show and the book, as you probably know, kind of take different liberties with their storylines, so they don't really converge that much. But in case any of these things actually happen, they could potentially be spoiled in this, so be forewarned about that. As usual, let's start out with characters. But with the characters, keep in mind that there are still many characters in this book, but I only focused on the main ones that had, in my opinion, significance in this second book, in the 2 chapters, chapters 3 and 4. And I picked out 4 main characters for this one because there are only 4 characters that the book really seemed to focus on this time. And the first one is obviously Rick, and he is once again still the leader of the group. He's kind of just telling everyone what to do, kind of keeping the group together as best as he possibly can. And then there's also Tyrese. He has become kind of like Rick's sidekick in one way, shape, or form. He is surprisingly still one of the main characters in the story, and he evolves through that even like towards the end even. And it's just really interesting to see a character that the TV show doesn't really talk about or show, and doesn't even have, and seeing what he is in this story compared to the show. And I'm hoping that they bring him in for season 3 because he seems to be something of an important character. We also have a guy named Dexter, and when Rick and the group kind of get into the prison system that you see at the very end of book 1, they work their way through, and then they find these 4 prisoners, and this guy named Dexter is more or less the leader of the group, and he is the one who you mainly have to deal with, although there are other characters who need to be watched and you need to keep an eye out for. But he is the main group leader, and he has something of a big significance at the end of chapter 3, and then also at the very beginnings of chapter 4. Know that. And then our last character is a new one that is just recently introduced, and who I believe will have a big influence in the series, and that is Michonne. And she, I believe that's how you say it. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing it right. Michonne is the sword-wielding badass who you see her start out with these 2 zombies chained behind her. They were her boyfriend, and then I believe her boyfriend's best friend, and they don't attack her anymore, probably because they just ended up giving up attacking her. But yeah, you just see her. She helps out Otis when he's trying to get to the prison, and she ends up joining up with Rick and his group, which I believe is a very different path than the TV show is taking. And this is something of a spoiler. If you haven't seen the end of Walking Dead Season 2, plug your ears or something. But at the end of Season 2, you saw Michonne show up and save Andrea, who has kind of diverged from the group, and she got left behind at Herschel's farm. I guess that's another character, is Herschel, and he kind of becomes integrated back into the group, him and his family, which is kind of a cool thing that you see, and it kind of shows how Herschel is going to be integrated with the show, because I was a little curious about that when I saw that Herschel and his family got left behind, while in season 3 you see him with Rick and his group. So those are the characters, and we move on to the plot. It really just is focused mainly on the prison and the ongoings of that system in terms of clearing out the prison of all the zombies that are in it, which is the main focus right now. And then the inner workings of the group, kind of making decisions, making laws in some aspects, and then also figuring out how to get things running in something of a big, good society. And it's kind of interesting to see, and makes you kind of wonder if society was to break down, government collapsed, all civilization just was put into a standstill, how would people react to that? Would they hold the same laws? Would they make their own laws that could be labeled as more savage than they are now? Just kind of interesting to think about. And you see this with this version of the plot with some of the moral choices that Rick and the group have to make. That is more or less the plot. Michonne shows up in the second part of this book, so chapter 4, and yeah, that's about it. And so we move on to themes. And with this book, the themes are kind of going to be the same throughout all 8 books that I will be reviewing. And so it mainly deals with survival, life, death. You can look at my book 1 review to see what I said about those. And then also a new one that this one added is, I guess you could say, loyalty, in terms of a bunch of different people, just inner workings of different groups, and then also to one another. And you see this kind of tested between these between all these different characters. But yeah, those themes are kind of concurrent in the story. So yeah, if you want me to talk about anything else, leave it in the comments or just message me. Please don't spoil anything major about this book or any of the future books in the comments as well. I would really appreciate that, and you guys would be awesome in my eyes. But yeah, moving on to enjoyment. I did enjoy this one a lot more than the first one, mainly because I wasn't just kind of going through stuff I'd already seen. I don't know how closely season 3 will tie into this book, but I know that Daryl is not in this book as of now. He's not even in the series, and he's kind of this new character who the show brought in, and he seems to be moving towards kind of what Tyrese is in this book, in terms of his relationship with Carol, and also him being kind of a helper to Rick now that Shane's gone. Yeah, I really did enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what transpires with the group in book 3, and also where the show is going to take it with season 3, because in the season 3 trailer you see stuff with the governor and this new town. Book 2, none of that. We haven't seen the governor yet, but I'm sure he's going to be coming up soon. But yeah, that's about it. Like, favorite, comment, and subscribe if you so choose. Yeah, that's it. As usual, my name is Nick Bell, and once again, my good people,